Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Sunday. I hope you've had a great week. And this week we are reading chapters 9 through 12 of 1 Samuel. All right, chapter 9. There was a stalwart man from Benjamin named Kish, who was the son of Abiel, son of Zerah, son of Becherath, son of Ephiah, a Benjaminite. He had a son named Saul, who was a handsome young man. There was no other Israelite handsomer than Saul. He stood head and shoulders above the people. Now the donkeys of Saul's father, Kish, had wandered off. Kish said to his son Saul, "Take one of the servants with you and go out and hunt for the donkeys." Accordingly, they went through the hill country of Ephraim and through the land of Shalisha. Not finding them there, they continued through the land of Shalim without success. They also went through the land of Benjamin, but they failed to find the animals. When they came to the land of Zupah, Saul said to the servant who was with him, "Come, let us turn back, lest my father forget about the donkeys and become anxious about us." The servant replied, "Listen, there is a man of God in this city, a man held in high esteem. All that he says is sure to come true. Let us go there now. Perhaps he can tell us how to accomplish our errand." But Saul said to his servant, "If we go, what can we offer the man? There is no bread in our bags, and we have no present to give the man of God. What have we?" Again the servant answered Saul, "I have a quarter of silver shekel. If I give that to the man of God, he will tell us our way." Saul then said to the servant, "Well said. Come on, let us go." And they went to the city where the man of God lived. As they were going up the ascent to the city, they met some girls coming out to draw water and inquired of them, "Is the seer in this town?" In former times in Israel, anyone who went to consult God used to say, "Come, let us go to the seer." For he who is now called a prophet was formerly called seer. Excuse me. The girls answered, "Yes, there, straight ahead. Hurry now, just today he came to the city because the people have a sacrifice today on the high place. When you enter the city, you may reach him before he goes up to the high place to eat. The people will not eat until he arrives. Only after he blesses the sacrifice will the invited guests eat. Go up immediately, for you should find him right away, or you should find him right now." So they went up to the city. As they entered it, Samuel was coming toward them on his way to the high place. The day before Saul's arrival, the Lord had given Samuel the revelation. "At this time tomorrow, I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, whom you are to anoint as commander of my people Israel. He shall save my people from the clutches of the Philistines, for I have witnessed their misery and accepted their cry for help." When Samuel caught sight of Saul, the Lord assured him, "This is the man of whom I told you. He is to govern my people." Saul met Samuel in the gateway and said, "Please tell me where the seer lives." Samuel answered Saul, "I am the seer. Go ahead up ahead of me to the high place and eat with me today. In the morning before dismissing you, I will tell you whatever you wish. As for the donkeys you lost 3 days ago, do not worry about them, for they have been found. Whom does Israel desire ardently, if not you and your father's family?" Saul replied, "Am I not a Benjaminite of one of the smallest tribes of Israel? And is not my clan the least among the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why say such things to me?" Samuel then took Saul and his servant and brought them to the room, where he placed them at the head of the guests, of whom were about 30. He said to the cook, "Bring the portion I gave you and told you to put aside." So the cook took up the leg and what went with it, and placed it before Saul. Samuel said, "This is a reserved portion that has been set before you. Eat, for it was kept for you until your arrival." I explained that I was inviting some guests. Thus Saul dined with Samuel that day. When they came down from the high place into the city, a mattress was spread for Saul on the roof, and he slept there. At daybreak, Samuel called to Saul on the roof, "Get up, and I will start you on your journey." Saul rose, and he and Samuel went outside the city together. As they were approaching the edge of the town, Samuel said to Saul, "Tell the servant to go on ahead of us, but stay here yourself for the moment that I may give you a message from God." Chapter 10. Then from a flask he had with him, Samuel poured oil on Saul's head. He also kissed him, saying, "The Lord anoints you commander over his heritage. You are to govern the Lord's people Israel and to save them from the grasp of their enemies round about. This will be the sign for you that the Lord has anointed you commander over his heritage. When you leave me today, you will meet 2 men near Rachel's tomb at Zelzah in the territory of Benjamin, who will say to you, the donkeys you went to look for have been found. Your father is no longer worried about the donkeys, but is anxious about you, and says, what shall I do about my son? Further on, when you arrive at the terebinth of Tabor, you will be met by 3 men going up to God at Bethel. One will be bringing 3 kids, another 3 loaves of bread, and the third a skin of wine. They will greet you and offer you 2 wave offerings of bread, which you will take from them. After that, you will come to Gibeath Elohim, where there is a garrison of Philistines. As you enter that city, you will meet a band of prophets in a prophetic state coming down from the high place, preceded by lyres and tambourines, flutes and harps. The Spirit of the Lord will rush upon you, and you will join them in their prophetic state, and you will be changed into another man. When you see these signs fulfilled, do whatever you judge feasible, because God is with you. Now go down ahead of me to Gilgal, for I shall come down to you to offer holocausts and to sacrifice peace offerings. Wait 7 days until I come to you. I shall then tell you what you must do. As Saul turned to leave Samuel, God gave him another heart. That very day all the signs came to pass. When they were going from there to Gibeah, a band of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God rushed upon him, so that he joined them in their prophetic state. When all who had known him previously saw him in a prophetic state among the prophets, they said to one another, what has happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul among the prophets? And someone from that district added, and who is their father? Thus the proverb arose, is Saul also amongst the prophets? When he came out of the prophetic state, he went home. Saul's uncle inquired of him and his servant, where have you been? Saul replied, to look for the donkeys. When we could not find them, we went to Samuel. Then Saul's uncle said, tell me then what Samuel said to you. Saul said to his uncle, he assured us that the donkeys had been found, but he mentioned nothing to him of what Samuel had said about the kingship. Samuel called the people together to the Lord at Mizpah and addressed the Israelites. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, it was I who brought Israel up from Egypt and delivered you from the power of the Egyptians and from the power of all the kingdoms that oppressed you. But today you have rejected your God, who delivers you from all your evils and calamities, by saying to him, not so, but you must appoint a king over us. Now, therefore, take your stand before the Lord according to the tribes and families. So Samuel had all the tribes of Israel come forward, and the tribe of Benjamin was chosen. Next he had the tribe of Benjamin come forward in clans, and the clan of Matri was chosen. And finally Saul, son of Kish, was chosen. But they looked for him in vain. Again they consulted the Lord. Has he come here? The Lord answered, he is hiding among the baggage. They ran to bring him from there, and when he stood among the people, he was head and shoulders above all the crowd. Samuel said to all the people, do you see the man whom the Lord has chosen? There is none like him among all the people. Then all the people shouted, long live the king. Samuel explained to the people the law of royalty and wrote it in a book, which he placed in the presence of the Lord. This done, Samuel dismissed the people, each to his own place. Saul also went home to Gibeah, accompanied by warriors whose hearts the Lord had touched. But certain worthless men said, how can this fellow save us? They despised him and brought him no present. Chapter 11. About a month later, Nahash the Ammonite went up and laid siege to Jabesh Gilead. All the men of Jabesh begged Nahash, make a treaty with us, and we will be your subjects. But Nahash the Ammonite replied, this is my condition for a treaty with you. I must gouge out every ignominy on all Israel. The elders of Jabesh said to him, give us 7 days to send messengers throughout the territory of Israel. If no one rescues us, we will surrender to you. When the messengers arrived at Gibeah of Saul, they related the news to the people, all of whom wept aloud. Just then Saul came from the field behind his oxen. Why are the people weeping? He asked. The message of the inhabitants of Jabesh was repeated to him, and he listened to the report, the Spirit of God. And as he listened to the report, the Spirit of God rushed upon him, and he became very angry. Taking a yoke of oxen, he cut them into pieces, which he sent throughout the territory of Israel by couriers with the message, if anyone does not come out to follow Saul and Samuel, the same as this will be done to his oxen. In dread of the Lord, the people turned out to a man. When he reviewed them in Bezek, there were 300,000 Israelites and 70,000 Judites. To the messengers who had come, he said, tell the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead that tomorrow, while the sun is hot, they will be rescued. The messengers came and reported this to the inhabitants of Jabesh, who were jubilant, and said to Nahash, "Tomorrow we will surrender to you, and you may do whatever you please with us." On the appointed day, Saul arranged his troops in 3 companies and invaded the camp during the dawn watch. They slaughtered Ammonites until the heat of the day, but by then the survivors were so scattered that no 2 were left together. The people then said to Samuel, "Who questioned whether Saul should rule over us? Hand over the men, and we will put them to death." But Saul broke in to say, "No man is to be put to death this day, for today the Lord has saved Israel." Samuel said to the people, "Come, let us go to Gilgal to inaugurate the kingdom there." So all the people went to Gilgal, where, in the presence of the Lord, they made Saul king. They also sacrificed peace offerings there before the Lord, and Saul and all the Israelites celebrated the occasion with great joy. Chapter 12. Samuel addressed all Israel. "I have granted your requests in every respect," he said. "I have set a king over you, and now the king is your leader. As for me, I am old and gray and have sons among you. I have lived with you from my youth to the present day. Here I stand. Answer me in the presence of the Lord and of his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? From whom have I accepted a bribe and overlooked his guilt? I will make restitution to you." They replied, "You have neither cheated us, nor oppressed us, nor accepted anything from anyone." So he said to them, "The Lord is witness against you this day, and his anointed as well, that you have found nothing in my possession." "He is witness," they agreed. Continuing, Samuel said to the people, "The Lord is witness, who appointed Moses and Aaron, and who brought your fathers from the land of Egypt. Now therefore take your stand, and I shall arraign you before the Lord, and shall recount for you all the acts of mercy the Lord has done for you and for your fathers. When Jacob and his sons went to Egypt, and the Egyptians oppressed them, your fathers appealed to the Lord, who sent Moses and Aaron to bring them out of Egypt, and he gave them this place to live in. But they forgot the Lord their God, and he allowed them to fall into the clutches of Sisera, the captain of the army at Jabin, king of Hazor, into the grasp of the Philistines, and into the grasp of the king of Moab, who made war against them. Each time they appealed to the Lord and said, 'We have sinned in forsaking the Lord and worshipping Baals and Ashtaroth, but deliver us now from the power of your enemies, and we will worship you.' Accordingly, the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Barak, Jephthah, and Samuel. He delivered you from the power of your enemies on every side, so that you were able to live in security. Yet when you saw Nahash, king of the Ammonites, advancing against you, you said to me, 'Not so, but a king must rule over us, even though the Lord your God is your king. Now you have the king you want, a king the Lord has given you. If you fear the Lord and worship him, if you are obedient to him and do not rebel against the Lord's command, if both you and the king who rules you follow the Lord your God, well and good. But if you do not obey the Lord, and if you rebel against his command, the Lord will deal severely with you and your king and destroy you. Now then, stand ready to witness the great marvel the Lord is about to accomplish before your eyes. Are we not in the harvest time for wheat? Yet I shall call to the Lord, and he will send thunder and rain. Thus you will see and understand how greatly the Lord is displeased that you have asked for a king." Samuel then called to the Lord, and the Lord sent thunder and rain that day. As a result, all the people dreaded the Lord and Samuel. They said to Samuel, "Pray to the Lord your God for us, your servants, that we may not die for having added to all other sins the evil of asking for a king." "Do not fear," Samuel answered them. "It is true you have committed all this evil. Still, you must not be turned from the Lord, but you must worship him with your whole heart. Do not turn to meaningless idols, which can neither profit nor save. They are nothing. For the sake of his own great name, the Lord will not abandon his people, since the Lord himself chose to make you his people. As for me, far be it from me to sin against the Lord by ceasing to pray for you and to teach you the good and right way. But you must fear the Lord and worship him faithfully with your whole heart. Keep in mind the great things he has done among you. If instead you continue to do evil, both you and your king shall perish." So remember last week they kept asking for a king to be like everyone else, to have a king. And this week the Israelites were given a king, King Saul. And we're going to stop there. because next week we start the next section and it's about Saul and David. But that's for next week. All right. We'll stop there. Let us close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Okay, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.